You can't just give a kid, you can't give them instruction and just say, hey, go figure it out on your own. They're going to give up on that quick. So being able to do that. And then, coach said something about finding their role. 7 Division I transfers. We can't all score 20. The 3 JUCO transfers we had on top of that, we can't all score 20. So being able to find what you're good at, taking your top thing, your top 1, 2 things. I'm a rebounder. I get to my right hand really well. Being able to do that at a high level. And then the things you're not good at, we slowly add. Maybe you take 1 or 2 threes if you're not a jump shooter and add to that bag. But, you've got to have reps at it, but it's got to be within the parameters of winning and the parameters of the team. So I think that's hard for us. That's hard for the kids. And it's a constant, juggle through the year.
So you guys have touched a ton on player development and all of that with your level. I want to shift over to academics. How do academics play into, Mitch, when you're looking at a high school player? But that's what I'm saying, where they have to learn a whole new language, new terminology, the way that you play. And so yes. I'm glad you guys were able to articulate that jump from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah, I've always said to my players, you make your biggest strides between your freshman and sophomore year because you've done it a year, you know what to expect, you know how hard to play, the physicality, the pace, the speed, all the things, our system. And it's whether or not they're going to go into the off season and work on their weaknesses and make those big jumps. But at the junior college level, and I think you guys would agree with me, your kids are at the junior college level for a reason. Maybe they went D1 and didn't play. Maybe they came out of high school and physically need to get bigger and stronger. But like generally, and we'll start with you, Cory, what areas do you feel kids at your level usually need to work on the most to get to the 4-year level? Is it an IQ thing? Is it, I know it's a combination of many things, but in general, like what are the main things that are the kid that it's a D1 or D2 that comes back to you? Like, why does he go back to you? What are the things that kid needs to work on to get back to the 4-year level?
I feel like a lot of the times they don't know why. There wasn't a vision or a blueprint for their growth, for their improvement. And so that's something we spend a lot of time on. And so opportunity is a big one. Maybe they just didn't have the opportunity to get on the floor or to showcase that skill set, or they were showing what they couldn't do. That's a big one. Shot selection, that's probably the biggest thing we fight with guys, shot selection. And so we're really transparent with that, trying to make them more efficient. Coach touched on that earlier. I think efficiency is huge, the volume stats, the empty stats. And so those are the areas I feel like I'm constantly attacking with guys. And it's a daily battle with us being consistent, is trying to get them to understand that. And then what their role is going to look like at the next level. Sometimes there's some, they all think they're going to be the leading scorer, and they don't realize, what you're being recruited for. They probably already got somebody. You talk about the portal. They're going to go grab somebody that's already shown that on film, that's older, that's a 5th-year senior, or that's been there 4 years. I can do that. So your role is not going to be the same as what it was in junior college. And so role definition, shot selection, IQ, those are the things we really try to hammer. We feel like we have to fight with them, or help them improve to move on to the next level.
And Mitch, you had 7 Division I bounce backs last year. Why? Like what prevented them from being successful at the level they were at?
Well, a lot of them, playing out of position, or not play, being a freshman behind 2 seniors, being in a situation they didn't expect. A couple of them, their coaches got fired. So, it's all different. You never really know. But I think Coach made a good point about finding what that problem is, or finding what the reason why they're at junior college. That's something you're going to have to identify early with them. You're going to have to communicate with them. And then you got to have a plan. Coach said you got to have a blueprint. If you don't have a blueprint for them, you really just said something, one thing in this year, it came right out the other, because they need a plan. They need to have a plan of attack, and I think, if you're able to do that and the kid has a vision and they know you have a vision for them and you two can come together, you got a chance. You can't just give a kid, you can't give them instruction and just say, hey, go figure it out on your own. They're going to give up on that quick. So being able to do that. And then, Coach said something about finding their role. 7 Division I transfers. We can't all score 20. The 3 JUCO transfers we had on top of that, we can't all score 20. So being able to find what you're good at, taking your top thing, your top 1, 2 things. I'm a rebounder. I get to my right hand really well. Being able to do that at a high level. And then the things you're not good at, we slowly add, maybe you take 1 or 2 threes if you're not a jump shooter and add to that bag. But, you've got to have reps at it, but it's got to be within the parameters of winning and the parameters of the team. So I think that's hard for us. That's hard for the kids. And it's a constant, juggle through the year.
Great.
So you guys have touched a ton on player development and all of that with your level. I want to shift over to academics. How do academics play into, Mitch, when you're looking at a high school player? How do academics factor in there?
Well, you need to know just because you need to have a plan. Like if they're coming in with terrible grades or they struggle in math, but they're great in English, just knowing those things off the top of your head and having it in your mind, because we're going to have to attack those issues. If it's a kid that's an academic qualifier, okay, we're going to be pushing them out to Division I's a little bit earlier. They're going to have a different recruiting pitch when coaches call about them. So, just being able to pinpoint what we need to do, going into that year.
Cory, same to you.
For us, it's the second most important thing we look at besides character. And obviously, talent's a part of that. That's what gets us our attention, and we notice all that too. But when we really start to do our homework, it's, character first, then we look at academics. I don't need the smartest kid, but I need a kid that's willing to work towards a degree they value, earning a degree. Like that's important for us. And Coach, he nailed it, man. You have to have an academic plan in place. I remember times at the 4-year level, I was getting transcripts and coaches were just keeping the kid eligible. He had 24 credits of PE credits, and there was no way I could get him out in 2 years. So really make sure you do your homework on that and that you're finding, do they have an academic plan in place to get me a degree and get out of here? And are they just trying to keep me eligible? But academics is really important for us, and we want kids who are going to work for it.
Cory, I want to stay on that. What if it is a high academic kid, but they're physically not ready? What do you have? Because sometimes I know some kids with really great grades and stuff like that, they kind of turn their nose up at JUCO. What do you say to that kid who is a really good student?
We've been fortunate. We've gotten a couple of those kids. We got one kid that's coming in with a 4.2 GPA, high academic, and so for us, that conversation is a little bit different. You're a qualifier. We need to make sure we put you on degree progress so that when we get to the next level, we're talking masters, not just bachelors. And so we got to make sure that we're trying to get them out in a year if they can. If they're not ready, maybe it's 2 years, whatever that looks like. But that plan is going to be a little bit different than a kid that we have that's a non-qualifier. We got to make sure he graduates, and we got to go a little bit different so he has an opportunity to get to the next level. But there's still opportunity there. It's just that conversation is going to look a little bit different.
Yeah, Mitch, same for you, a young lady who's a fantastic student. How does that conversation go?
Well, I think we have a lot of them, especially on the girls' side. There's a lot of girls that take concurrent enrollment and, dual enrollment and do all that while they're in high school. So we got a girl coming in this summer who will have 21 credits coming in. She's going to take probably 6 this summer. We'll be able to graduate in 1 year. So, I mean, we run into it quite a bit with girls, and I think girls care about their grades a little bit more. So it's really nice for me to have those types of kids. And like Coach said, it makes you more recruitable. If I'm able to say, hey, she's a one and done kid, or, she has that option to come in, get one associate's, graduate. Okay, I didn't get the scholarship offer I wanted. Okay, I got the opportunity to come back for a second year. So, they get to play a little bit more freely. They get to have, that freedom of, leaving after 1 or sticking around for 2 if they need it.
Right. And Mitch, playing in the Patriot League, I mean, like the price tags at those type of schools, some parents of the high academic world, they can't foot that bill. And so that's where junior college is a great option for those kids. But some of them, like I said, they think it's only for kids that need help with their grades. So I'm glad you guys were able to address that for them, that it is a good option for them.
Yeah.
We have this question with our JUCO kids that we help, but they're recruiting all the time. But you're in it every day, and I want you to address our audience and answer this. But the question we get is, do you have to have your associate's degree to be eligible to play at a 4-year school?
So it depends on your situation. If you're an academic qualifier, your situation's a little bit different. Non-qualifier, are you a bounce back? Your situation's different. So academic qualifier, no, not necessarily. A bounce back, yes, you do. A non-qualifier, yes, you do. So every situation is a little bit different depending on where you're at academically.
Great. Good stuff. And we'll switch over to scholarships. Mitch, what types of scholarships are available at Chipola for a student athlete for basketball?
Well, we're in a really good situation financially for scholarships. We're able to give full rides. We're able to fly some of the kids in, not everybody, but parts of the team coming from international. And then we're lucky enough to have a meal stipend as well. So it's a really good financial situation for kids. They keep all their Pell here. But like I said, I've only been here 2 years, and in my past 9, we were D2. We couldn't pay for housing, couldn't pay for meals. So it's really going to be subjected to where you're at, what level you're at. But it's a really good situation here, and that's why we get those really good players.
Hey, Cory, obviously being at the Division II level, what's your scholarship situation look like?
So at our level, you can pay up to tuition. Notice I said up to. We're not in that situation, and so for us, we have basically scholarships that are worth a third of tuition. From an athletic standpoint, we don't have housing. We don't have dorms on campus, apartments, none of that stuff. We don't have a cafeteria on campus, so we don't have meal plans. We do have some academic things for certain requirements. If they live within Maricopa County, our county, and they have a certain GPA unweighted, we can get them a full academic scholarship, which helps with that. So our situation is a little bit different. That's why we hammer the Phoenix area so hard. A lot of our kids, they all live at home. They got to commute every day. It's just part of where we're at, part of what we embrace, who we are, but our situation a little bit different, amongst the whole Division II level.
And Cory, talking about cost, how do you explain to families the cost of paying out of pocket or whatever for junior college versus the opportunity that it's going to provide for them, hopefully in the future?
Yeah, we try to show a big picture for them. For us, it's less than $100 per credit hour. And so all of our guys, we make them enroll in 15 credits per semester to keep them on degree progress. So you're talking $3,000 for the year. So if you're on that full academic scholarship, it's covered, it's paid for. We give you athletic scholarship depending on what your financial aid is. So, but with big picture, you get to that 4-year level and someone's willing to pay for your school. It's a short-term sacrifice that you had to make for a long-term investment. And that's really the picture we try to paint with these families when we sit down and speak with them.
Mitch, same for you. I realize you're in a little different financial backing than what Cory has, but how do you weigh the cost versus the opportunity they're provided?
Well, I mean, we're able to just kind of like the D1 transfers, the 7 D1 transfers. We're able to, probably give them a little bit better than, if they drop down to Division II, or they decide to go to a different region or whatever the case may be. But it just kind of puts us in a different tax bracket as far as who we can talk to, who will take our phone calls. So that for me has been exciting for the last 2 years. And we can talk to kids like, Coach said earlier, we're not supposed to be talking to. They should probably be at the Division I level, but with that full ride that we're able to give them to live on the beach, to have the history we do down here, it really helps.
One of the things we tell our guys that we talk and girls that are Division III players, they're Division III prospects, and obviously at the Division III level, no athletic scholarships. They can give some really good academic and institutional money, but you're going to pay something. And we have families that can't afford it. And so we talk about go to the junior college level, because in Arizona, if you're those kids who are high academic, like you're 4.2, Cory, he's paying nothing to go there. And now you have 2 years of school paid for. So that price tag at that D3 for 2 years is a heck of a lot less than for 4 years. So like those are types of things we tell them. There's a lot of value in going junior college outside of development and outside of, maybe moving the needle to another level, because the financial piece can be really, really intriguing as well, which obviously you guys just explained. So for you guys as coaches, and obviously you guys are a stop for all of your players. They're going to go somewhere else, right? They're done in 2 years, they're done in 1 year. When typically, I know it's different for each kid because some kids are one and done, some kids are going there for 2, some kids make gray shirt or red shirt and then play. But when typically do you start promoting your players to 4-year college coaches? Mitch, I'll start with you.
We start pretty early. So, I mean, as soon as they get here in July for summer school and we've had like a week or two to evaluate, obviously the sophomores are going to get a little precedence there. But, we're starting pretty early. Once we realize, hey, this kid's a Division I player, we'll start calling the people we know or the people that typically recruit our kids, get it going early, because we want them there in August and September, and try to get those early offers in. Maybe we get a few kids to sign early. That's always my goal, is to have at least 1 or 2 kids sign early if they find the right program.
Great. And Cory, how about you guys?
Yeah, as soon as they get on campus, we start day one. Kind of like Coach said, it depends on their situation. Are they a qualifier? Are they a transfer? Are they a non-qualifier? Do they have multiple years? But everybody, from the jump, we're calling coaches. We try to do it with our scheduling, try to get them out to different locations, get seen by different coaches, the competition. So that way the coaches can see how it evaluates amongst that competition, social media, YouTube, whatever we can do to get our guys in front of coaches, highlight tapes. We're going to do whatever we can, but it starts from day one as soon as they get on campus.
Can you both? I'll say it with you, Cory, first, and then just kind of talk about what you guys do in Florida. I don't think kids understand how important synergy is in college and how valuable that is as a JUCO kid, because every single four-year school has access to it. So can you talk about synergy and how that helps your kids' recruitment, and then also the jamborees and things you guys play in the summer and fall, and how much exposure they get in those as well?
Yeah, with synergy, I told my athletic director that was a non-negotiable for me. We had to have it. It was crazy to me that the conference didn't require it. Everywhere I've been, synergy's been required. It's such a great tool where a four-year coach is interested in your kid. He can hop on synergy and see every single clip on him. Like, it's a game changer. So for us, that was a non-negotiable. We had to get that right away, and we did. So that's been really valuable for us, not only for our internal development, but for their recruiting.
Yeah.
And the jamborees, that's an opportunity for them to get in front of coaches. That's what that is. And so we give them an opportunity to play in front of coaches, get evaluated in person. That's really, really important from the recruiting standpoint. So it's just another tool and resource for our guys to have opportunities to be seen.
And are you guys playing in two or one? How many of those do you play in?
We played in one last year. I think we're playing in two this year. So we're still trying to finalize that.
How are those things playing a part in helping your girls get exposure, synergy, and jamborees?
Well, synergy is huge. Like you said, anybody can access it, and it's right away. It's instant. People don't have to wait for you to send the film. And, I know a lot of coaches, hey, I'll get you the film tomorrow, coach. And you wait 2 or 3 days. Well, with synergy, you skip all that. You hop right on and get what you need. So that's big. And then as far as jamborees, we're going to go to as many as we can, especially the good ones down here. There's a couple in Georgia, a couple in Florida that are popping up. So, we'll go to 2 or 3, sometimes 4, just depending on, if we got a deeper team, if we're injured and things like that. I've had where we've got 4 of them set up, 3 kids get injured in the first 2. Okay, well, we're going to back out of the 4th one. So just as many opportunities as we can get out there. And then, the pro days and the little things like that are put together by the conferences and things like that. It's just huge for the kids, and it starts early, and it gives those kids that platform.
Great.
Mitch, what percentage would you say of your players go on to a 4-year school? And, is there kind of a breakdown of this may go D1, this go D2, this go NAI, this go D3, just kind of throughout your time in the JUCO world?
Well, I mean, now that I'm at Chipola the last 2 years, it's pretty high Division I. Last year we had 4 kids go Division I. This year we're going to have 9, possibly 10. So, I mean, it's different here. But, we were at Division II. We were probably having 1 to 3 kids go Division I every year. If you did it in total, I mean, on the girls' side, everybody's going to go to school for the most part, and we're able to get everybody to play if they want to. Usually the 1 to 2% that just decide I don't want to play anymore, I want to go home and do hair, there's very few of those. So, I mean, I'd say 95, 98% of the kids are going to move on to the next level. Whether they play at the next level on the girls' side, it's not always a guarantee. It's more about what type of scholarships they can get. Is it going to be easier to go home and just go to that close, 4-year school right down the street? So I'd say it's a pretty high percentage of our JUCO kids.
And Mitch, your situation is different because in Florida, there are so many non-D1 options.
Right.
So that's where, Cory, I know your situation in Arizona, it's very different. There's 3 Division I options and a couple NAIs, and that's it.
Right.
So can you talk about kind of that perspective for your players?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I've been fortunate in my career when I've been at the junior college level. Every sophomore or kid that was eligible to move on has had an opportunity that has wanted to. They've either got a scholarship to the next level or they've signed overseas and played. So been very fortunate from that standpoint. We've got 2 sophomores right now that we're working with to see where their landing spot's going to be, going through some different things with them. So hopefully we continue that. But yeah, our situation is a little bit different. There's no Division IIs. So a lot of our kids, to seek opportunities, they're going to have to go away from home. And so they're going to have to, come with terms with that and start to find out what's important for them, because location is not going to be one. You know, if they want to continue to play, they're going to have to move away from home. So a little bit different setup here, but there's a lot of opportunities. California's full of a ton of different level schools. There's a lot of really good programs in the Southwest that if a kid wants to stay in the region, we at least have some opportunities to do that for them.
And Mitch, we'll start with you. There's a lot of misconceptions about junior college basketball and a lot of information out there, as we all know. But if you had to pick one, Mitch, what is the biggest misconception about junior college basketball?
I mean, that it's only for kids that don't have grades and it's a low level of basketball. You know, I hate to hear that, you know, a Division I, you know, a Division II team, you know, the level between Division I, Division II, junior college. I think it's a lot closer than people think. You know, I think there's quite a few Division Is JUCOs every year that could beat a handful of Division Is. You know, so the level of play is a lot higher than what people think. You know, and then, like I said, we've got a lot of 4.0 students. We got a lot of academic qualifying kids. You know, I kind of run into it recruiting wise in the Northeast when I'm recruiting the New Yorks and the Philadelphias. They don't have a good sense of real junior college. You know, they know the up north junior colleges with the partial scholarships, and they don't finish the season. They've got 5 or 6 kids on the roster. You know, so running into stuff like that where people just aren't informed, you know, and that's where I think, you know, we've got to do podcasts like this. We've got to continue to recruit outside of our areas and touch those people, because if the kids in the Northeast don't know about junior colleges, you know, that's a big group of kids that can play a high level of basketball that we want to make sure we get them. So, you know, just people not being educated about the process, and, you know, now with it changing. So whatever you did know 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's all changed in the junior college landscape. So just keeping people educated.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, 23 schools in Arizona, 4 Division I, 5 NAIs, 12 junior colleges. We have no D3. We have no D2. A lot of misinformation about JUCO out here. What would you say, besides what Mitch said? Obviously, that's one in Arizona too. What's another misconception that people have about junior college basketball?
Probably that it's not just a fallback option. Like, I hear that all the time from players, from parents, like, if I don't find anything, I'll just go junior college. Like, you couldn't be any further from the truth, the level of it. And Coach, he was spot on. Like, the level of talent here, it's not just a fallback out. It's not something that you can just decide I want to play basketball, I'm gonna go play junior college. Like, that's just the biggest misconception I feel like out here, is that it's a fallback option. It'll be there for me because it's not very high level.
Yeah, and we were before we got on tonight, we were talking about a kid that I helped, that you recruited, that he waited too long and you filled the spotlight. That happens too at JUCO, and I don't think kids understand. You're recruiting multiple people for the same position. And if you don't have urgency and you're not proactive in the process with junior college coaches, they will also move on, you know, and I don't think kids understand that. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point.
Cory, if there's a kid out there watching this right now and they're on the fence about junior college, what's the best piece of advice you could give them for junior college basketball?
I'd just be very transparent. It's not for everyone. Like, it's extremely competitive. It's going to test your commitment to the game, your love of the game. You know, I would tell them, hey, if you're in doubt, pick a different route. Like, JUCO ain't for you. Like, it's just, if you're on the fence and you're not fully committed, somebody that's 100% in is going to pass you by. And so if you're just not willing to grind it out and work towards something, like, find something else. There's going to be a better fit, a better option for you.
Mitch, same to you. If there's a young lady who's on the fence about junior college basketball,
I feel like we catch ourselves saying, don't settle. You know, don't settle for something you're not sure of. You know, don't settle for a school that doesn't believe in you, or a coaching staff that wanted to recruit you late. You know, come here and bet on yourself. You know, kids do it all the time. Pros do it all the time. They have that contract year where they come in, they've got to blow it up. You know, don't settle for anything that you're not comfortable with, and come bet on yourself for really 9 months. That's all I'm really asking for.
And last question to you guys tonight, and we thank you for being on. And this is one I want to give advice to kids here. This is just a general recruiting question. And Mitch, we'll stay with you. Give me one thing players think matters about the recruiting process, but it really doesn't at the end of the day.
You know, I got to look cool. You know, I gotta look cool factor. I think that's one of the biggest things
Great
plaguing
answer.
our game right now. The nonchalant, nothing bothers me. I think kids think that we want to see that. I think kids think Division I coaches want to see that I'm the coolest kid out here. And what we really think is we want to see those kids that compete, that sell their soul on the court. They're out there running through brick walls. That's what we want to see. Kids that are passionate about the game. Obviously not the crash out era either. That's another issue in today's game. But staying away from being an emotional kid, but having a high passion for the game, caring about winning as opposed to, like Coach said, caring about your stats. When a kid plays and they're focused on their stats, you can tell. It's not hard for fans, for coaches. So don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Don't be the selfish kid out there. Show you care about your teammates. Show you can be coachable. But don't be that nonchalant, cool kid that wants the highlight tape. Get out there, be a grinder, be a worker, and be a winner.
That's a great answer. Cory, how about you?
For us, we're trying to turn over every rock. So we really don't get caught up in what position you are in high school and club. Like for us, we've recruited guys, they were the tallest team, player on their team, and they were a center, but they're a guard or a wing for us. Like our job as coaches is we have to evaluate your skill set and how you fit within our scheme and system. So don't get caught up that you got to play this position or that. Like we're kind of positionless anyways. We got guards, wings, and forwards. So what that looks like, we just want guys that are basketball players and they can do a lot of different things. So don't get caught up on my high school coaches make me play this, my club coaches make me play this. It doesn't matter. We're evaluating your skill set and your efficiency and how you fit our scheme.
Well, you guys could have answered that question any better. Those were two outstanding answers. Last one, Cory, I'll stay with you. Give me one thing players ignore but matters in the recruiting process.
Fit. Go where you're valued. Like who you play for and who you play with are the two most important things. You're going to see those guys every day. So you need to make sure you're playing for the right coaching staff and you're playing with the right teammates. Like, do they have your best interest or are they just saying something to get you on campus? Like, do your homework. But I think fit is so important. I think it's the most important thing. Fit's going to supersede level every single time.
100% agree. Mitch,
Yeah, to add on to that, I mean, not only fit, but knowing the roster, knowing who's on the team, knowing who gets in the portal. And then one piece that I always talk to my kids about is knowing the coach's contract. Go on their bio, see what year they were hired, do the math. There's 3 to 5 year contracts out there. When somebody's at the end of their contract and they've had a couple bad seasons. So take all that into account, know what you're doing, look at the history of the program, and don't just make a decision based off the name on the jersey or, the conference they play in. Really do your homework and make sure it fits for you.
great answer. Those are gold. I appreciate that.
Oh, we appreciate both of you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing everybody in the next episode.
Basketball players, are you grinding in the gym but struggling to get noticed by college coaches? Your talent deserves the right exposure, and that's where Net Results Recruiting comes in. Whether you're in high school, junior college, or prep school, we help you connect with college programs, get you promoted to college coaches, and receive expert guidance throughout your recruitment journey. Don't leave your future to chance. Get exposure, get guidance, get results. Let our team find your team. Visit netresultsrecruiting.com today and take the next step towards your college basketball dream.